The SEC is urging everyone to exercise caution with crypto assets, calling them securities, talking about so many of the risks that are involved in crypto. I want to talk about that here today, talk about some of the other stuff that's happening in the crypto market as well, because we're actually seeing a pretty big pump right now. Bitcoin's about to the highs that it was at yesterday, but at the same time, so much FUD has come out on crypto in the last 24 hours. There's a lot of news to cover, a lot of important people and companies in crypto being attacked right now. We just had the Fed rate decision as well. So much is going on. Stay through to the end because all of this is important. I'm going to try to get through this pretty quickly, but like I said, there is a lot happening. Now, with that being said, I say exercise caution in the title because that's what the SEC is saying. I'm not selling my crypto though right now. I posted a video talking about getting your crypto out or getting your crypto off yesterday, and so many people in the comments just read the title, read the thumbnail, and had no idea what I was talking about, and just commented about how one day I'm talking about Bitcoin 40xing, the next day I'm talking about selling it. I don't think Bitcoin's going to 40x in the next 3 months, but someone was talking about it 40xing, which is why I talked about that. And in yesterday's video, I was not selling it. I'm saying to get it off of exchanges, which is really important, which we'll talk about that here today. So for all the thumbnail investors, pay attention a little bit longer in the video. Otherwise, you won't catch some of the most important stuff that is coming in these videos. You'll just sell off of emotion or buy off of emotion. I need to stay a little bit through the video. Now, for everyone else, I appreciate it. Sorry, a little bit of a rant there, but I had a lot of comments like that. Now, let's take a look at what's happening in crypto. If you don't mind to hit the subscribe button underneath the video, turn on the bell notification so you know right when I post a video, because some of this is time sensitive. There's a link to Patreon. Join underneath the video if you want to know when I'm buying and selling. I made a nice little swing trade on a dividend stock that gave me about 7.5%. Now it's down after I sold it too, so it was good timing there. But if you want to see future trades or just buy and hold long-term investments, you can check out the link underneath to the Patreon. Also, there are links to moomoo and Webull underneath the video as well, in case you want to buy some stocks, try out the platforms, and one to M1 Finance. That's actually where I hold the majority of my long-term investments, but you can do different things on each of the platforms. So check those out. They'll give you some free money when you sign up and deposit $100. Now, apologize for all that. Let's get into what's happening right now. Bitcoin is at 28,700, and it actually went up a little bit higher earlier. This is kind of crazy because we've had so much FUD. If you remember yesterday, we fell down drastically after the Fed speech. Actually, let's look at crypto liquidations real quick, because that's got to be insane over the last 24 hours because we've had so much volatility. That's why you have to be careful in these times, right? We have $357 million worth liquidated. If you are going on leverage, be careful of these FOMC meetings because there is a lot of volatility and a lot of people will get wiped out both ways. Now, right now, the whole crypto market's moving up. Over the last 24 hours, you can see pretty much everything is in the green. But there's still a coordinated attack against crypto. Now, let me just explain this and then we'll talk about why the market's pumping. We know XRP or Ripple, I should say, and the SEC have been fighting for a long time in the courts, basically over whether Ripple is a security or a commodity. And right now it sounds like Ripple might have the upper hand, but you can see that's when the SEC started to, go after crypto. Recently, we had the SEC continue to reject the Bitcoin spot ETF, but now it sounds like after Grayscale started suing them, that maybe we'll get this spot ETF approved. But you can see SEC going after another potential innovation in crypto or something that could benefit everyone in crypto. And they're saying that they're just trying to help out, keep everyone safe. But they continue to go after more companies. Kraken to pay $30 million for unregistered staking products, and they have to get rid of their staking program. Crypto firm Paxos faces SEC lawsuit over BUSD, basically calling that a security. We also had news that Signature Bank is closing down its doors. Obviously, a lot of other banks in the U.S. closing down and having issues recently, and that has pretty much stopped a lot of the ways that people were getting money into crypto, because a lot of these crypto companies worked with some of these small banks that actually went down. So maybe just coincidence there, but kind of odd when the SEC is going after so many projects that these just happen to be the banks that fail. Now, of course, maybe it's because they're willing to take on a little bit riskier clients, but still pretty interesting there that this is all happening at the same time. Now, we also got news that Biden was proposing a 30% tax on crypto mining electricity. He also wanted to double capital gains and clamp down on tax loss harvesting for crypto at the same time. So you can see it seems like there's a coordinated effort from multiple entities in the government. Yesterday, Coinbase got a Wells notice, which often comes before some kind of enforcement action, maybe a lawsuit, maybe some big fine, basically going after some of their assets that they allow trading on and going after their staking program. Coinbase was down 12% on this news. Now today, Block is down a lot too. They were actually down 20% earlier today, now down 12% because of Hindenburg, a short selling firm. And, this isn't government related, but still, maybe they just see some weakness because Block is a company that owns Cash App. It does a lot of things with cryptocurrency. Now, with that being said, they're not really going after the crypto part of their business, but this is just one more company in crypto that's being beaten down right now. They basically say that they misled investors on key metrics, embrace predatory offerings and compliance, worst practices in order to fuel growth and profit from facilitation of fraud against customers and government. So not really going after the crypto side, like I said, but more just that they're misleading investors and hurting the people that they're trying to serve. And then today, just a few minutes ago, we got this from the SEC. Exercise caution with crypto asset securities. Investor alert. The SEC's Office of Investor Education and Advocacy continues to urge investors to be cautious if considering an investment involving crypto asset securities. Investments in crypto asset securities can be exceptionally volatile and speculative, and the platforms where investors buy, sell, and borrow or lend these securities may lack important protections for investors. The risk of loss for individual investors who participate in transactions involving crypto assets, including crypto asset securities, remains significant. The only money that you should put at risk with any speculative investment is money that you can afford to risk entirely. Investors should understand that crypto offerings, those offering crypto asset investments or services may not be complying with applicable law, including federal security laws. And then they continue to go through this and give more cautious statements. But what's really interesting here is that they are giving this, and there's this whole coordinated attack, right? I believe that people should be given some kind of statement of risk. That's what we have with securities, and there should be some oversight to make sure that companies are doing what they're saying they're doing, that they're actually using the money behind the scenes in the right way, and that they're not like going and lending it out against your will or anything like that. But the SEC has provided really no clarity on what's a security and what is a commodity. They have not helped crypto companies entirely trying to get compliant with the SEC. They have not given some way of moving forward. They're basically just enforcing whatever they want to stifle the crypto industry without killing it completely, because they want the revenue from it. They still want it, right? I want to be cautious of what I say, but it's basically like they want to keep it alive just to suck the blood from it. They just want to continue to profit off of the backs of crypto without really having it endanger what they're worried about, which is the US dollar. Now, at the same time, right, the dollar's worth has gone down. So they're worried about, some speculative asset in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And Bitcoin is completely different from the rest of crypto. And, even Ethereum, I think, is better than the rest of crypto, right? There's some cryptos that are just scams. There's some cryptos that are securities. But Bitcoin should be in a separate league of its own, because you should not have to put it on a platform. You should take it off platforms. That's the whole point of Bitcoin in the first place. But they're talking about the risk of loss and how dangerous it is to be in crypto. While the risk of loss in the US dollar is guaranteed, you will lose money every single year with your money in US dollars. Back in 1910, about 110 years ago, the purchase value of $1 bill was about what $26 is today. So if you have held on to that for 110 years, maybe you had $1 million or something like that. It was the equivalent of 26 million back then. Now it's $1 million today. So automatically if you hold on to US dollars, you are losing money. They are worried about, some of these being unregistered. And while I do think, some cryptos, you're just going to lose value, right? You need to make sure that you know what cryptos to invest in and what you should actually be looking for. The fact is, if you invest in normal securities, you're not perfectly safe. This was a US registered bank, SVB Financial Group. It was $600 less than a year ago, or about $600 less than a year ago. Now it's worthless. The fact is, just because they say that, a company is safe doesn't mean that it is. This is listed on the NASDAQ. This is one of the largest banks in the US. A lot of other banks fell 50% in a day, 30% in a day. There's risk everywhere you invest. The SEC is also suing Justin Sun for crypto schemes along with a bunch of other people. So there's this giant coordinated attack. Why is crypto up right now? Right? Bitcoin's up near all-time highs. It was very similar when the bank collapse started to happen, right? Everyone's worried about money in their bank, USDC, depegs, and yet Bitcoin moved up 40% in 10 days, right? Why is this happening? Why is crypto up right now with all this giant coordinated attack? Well, there are a couple things. First of all, we know Justin Sun is being sued by the SEC, and he tweeted this recently. I don't know how to read this, but I put in a translator. It basically says huge pump. Maybe he's pumping the market, maybe that's what's happening, and then he's going to take some money out. That's what some people on Twitter are saying, basically that Justin Sun's pumping the market, going to then convert over to USDT, be able to ride out this manhunt for him for a while. Otherwise, it could just be the fact that Arbitrum's up. Arbitrum had their massive airdrop today. We have 750 million in 24-hour trading volume. I'm sure most of it is people selling. You can see that it went all the way up to $9 on this chart. Really, when you look into it, though, it seems like the people that sold out at the highest value were right under $5. And then a lot of people selling around $2.50 all the way down. Now it's starting to level out with some people actually buying it. But Arbitrum is now one of the largest cryptos in the world, 38th. And they had their massive airdrop. So a lot of people might just be selling this and then reinvesting into the rest of crypto. Could also just be that the whole market's up. The NASDAQ's up 2% today. People are going risk on after going risk off yesterday. I think people overreact to the Fed meeting and what Jerome Powell says, the exact wording, that kind of thing. Basically saying that they're not looking to cut rates this year. But then they think about it and think, okay, the banks are under a lot of stress. Recently, the Fed started to add assets back to its balance sheet, and we still don't have this newest weekly number. Let me just reload this, make sure that it's not on there. But the fact is that they have been adding assets to their balance sheet, even if it's temporary. But the banks are still under stress. The U.S. looks like it's facing recession, and they're talking about how there's probably a less likelihood of a soft landing than there was before. That's basically what Jerome Powell suggested. At the same time, inflation is coming down here in the U.S. So I think a lot of people are realizing maybe the Fed's going to have to pivot. Maybe they're not going to be able to continue to lower or continue to raise rates. Maybe they're going to have to flip. Maybe it's just that people realize the U.S. dollar is crap, right? The SEC can fight as much as they want to. But remember, the U.S. dollar is the biggest Ponzi in the world, one of the biggest Ponzi's in the world. First, companies or governments or people ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And that's where it seems like we're at in crypto right now. They are fighting us. They're fighting crypto. They're trying to destroy the companies without fully destroying them because they still, they don't want to set off a revolution. They also want to make sure that they still make money from crypto. They also, they oftentimes leave Bitcoin out and just talk about crypto. Like I believe here they just talked about digital assets or crypto assets, right? But in the past they have labeled Bitcoin a commodity, not a security. And the fact is, Bitcoin is really one of the safest assets on earth. And I'm not saying the safest in terms of price. Price volatility moves up and down a lot. The volatility of the US value of Bitcoin moves up and down significantly. However, it's the only asset in the world that you can truly never have taken away from you if you store it in the right way. What do I mean by that? As I've said before, right? If the government comes and seizes my property, they can take my home away from me. Let's say if I don't pay property taxes, they can put me in jail, so they can take my body away, basically force me to live somewhere based on my actions. They can take away my money. They can freeze my accounts. They can take away any item in my life. In certain states, they can take your actual life away, like they can, death penalty. But crypto, if you hold it on cold storage, they can't make you tell them the words to your cold storage device and then give up your crypto. It's one of the only assets that's true of. Also, Bitcoin is one of the only assets in the world that isn't just inflated, or they can't just make more. The protocol doesn't make more. The project or Satoshi doesn't make more if it becomes more valuable. Believe me, if that was possible, they would have done that. Bitcoin's up, 280,000x since it came out, or since, 13, 14 years ago. The fact is, you can't make more of it compared to any other asset in the world, right? If property in my city becomes more valuable, people will come in and buy and build skyscrapers. If some stock goes up in value, right? If Tesla 10x's, they might sell more shares. They'll probably sell more shares because they realize that they can raise more capital, right? And then that dilutes you as a shareholder. Any asset in the world can be inflated, especially something like the US dollar. They want to continue to print more money. They need to continue to print to pay off old debts. They need to continue to print to make sure that you continue to invest money and continue to spend money. There's a reason people buy Bitcoin. And while the volatility goes up and down, and some people are just here for the day-to-day, for price fluctuations, and I think a lot of us would like the value of Bitcoin to go up, the fact is there's utility to it. There's a reason people bought it in the first place when no one had heard of it. It's because it actually protects you. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, I think crypto is in a pretty good place for the long term, even with all these lawsuits. With that in mind, though, I am cautious. I'm not going out and actively dumping a ton of money in crypto because we have moved up a lot. In the last 7 days, we're up 17.5%. In the last 10 days, we're up 45%. So be careful out there. As always, I'm doing the same thing that I've done and said over the last 12 months. I'm adding at prices that I find attractive, which is, for me, right around 20, 21,000, I think is a great price. And, I've added a lot during the bear market. So if we continue to move up, I won't be sad that I didn't add at 28,000. I realize that I have a pretty large bag compared to my net worth. So I'm going to be happy with the decision I made. And if we fall down from here, I'm going to be okay with that too. I'm not selling based off of fear. I'm selling eventually because I think it's a good time to sell. Now, I'm not selling right now either, but who knows? That could change. If we continue to pump up, I could take some profits. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.